More than ever, gamers are putting faith ahead of skepticism in new products. Let me know where you stand in the comments below, but first, my opinion. I'm Tarmack, and this is Feature Creep. Star Citizen has raised $75 million in crowdsourced funding. Bloodborne is causing people to purchase PS4s in larger numbers than any game previously. Virtual reality goggles are the new revolution. It's almost as though gamers didn't learn anything from 2014, the continued hype push from Ubisoft and others about how each new game release would be the next big thing. Far Cry 4 was buggy on launch, Assassin's Creed Unity was nigh unplayable, and Watch Dogs was intentionally downgraded on PC, but was also dramatically short of expectations set from its early E3 hype, and Peter Molyneux promised too much again with the mobile release of Godus. Example after example of disappointed hopes and dashed expectations, all the while decried by some in the gaming community of the infamous and disingenuously used phrase, "let the buyer beware." With more games than ever being released every year, so do we experience more disappointments every year. And while I don't have the numbers to back it up, it sure feels like overhype and underdeliver is getting worse. Will a game like Star Citizen, with by this point an obscene budget in the world of video games, manage to satisfy the expectation? The alpha's fun, and the process of watching the game develop is fun, but the scope is so enormous that I'm not certain any developer could manage to put together a game with so few limits that is also content heavy. It would be like expecting the next Elder Scrolls to not be filled to the brim with fluff quests, which is about as likely as a winged piglet. Will Bloodborne really end up being the amazing PS4 game that Sony needed to showcase how awesome the console is? I've fallen prey to the hype because I already have a PS4 and will be buying the game on release, but that is because of the reputation of the developer. Virtual reality as a concept worries me slightly as well. I'm one of the people in the camp of not likely where it comes to VR being something that will utterly change the way that we all play games. I see too many barriers that are unrelated to the technology itself, issues like game support, heavy immersion requiring the player to temporarily isolate themselves from real life, large swaths of game genres that simply don't translate well into VR, and human tendency towards sedentary entertainment in gaming. Yet the hype train is plowing ahead full speed, and I have a hard time faulting it because despite the fact that I fervently disagree that VR will ever have a majority market share, I still desperately want to be a part of the market share that it will have. That's also regardless of any technical hurdles like motion sickness, people who don't perceive depth properly, and the like. I do fully expect, though, within the next 5 years to hear of the first heart attack victim of VR as soon as devs start making jump scare games, shark-related titles, and so on. There is still hope against hype, however. Perhaps it's time to have a return to form of skepticism. This is where consumer education comes into the mix. Developers are just like any other entity in the world in that they have a reputation as a result of past performance. If you temper the hype you experience by researching these developers, then you learn some very significant things. You will know that when you buy a game from CD Projekt Red that you're going to get a well-supported PC-heavy experience with fair DLC and DRM. You will know that when you buy a game from Blizzard, even without reading reviews, that you're going to get an easy-to-play, difficult-to-master game with the polish of a diamond and overpriced optional content. You will know that when you buy a game Peter Molyneux is involved with, that it will not live up to expectations. You'll know that a game from Ubisoft is generally familiar, rushed, formulaic, and will have map-revealing towers to climb. The history of each informs the buyer on a fair analog of the quality of the next product. When a developer doesn't have this history is where skepticism is essential. Valve has never done hardware before. Oculus has never released a product. Cloud Imperium has experienced developers, but no game of the scope of Star Citizen has ever been done before. Nvidia makes great video cards, but just like everybody else, is new to the idea of a console cloud. This is the proactive part of buyer beware that has value. Remember that it is up to you to ensure that you don't get misled. Nobody's going to protect you from your own imagination or the imagination of other people. Being an excellent company does not guarantee a great product. Making great things of one type doesn't mean you're going to be good at making great things of another type. So all that I ask is in situations where you can't point to a real expertise or reputation in development, that you as the consumer temper your hyped expectations against that knowledge. The product may well be the greatest thing since Betty White, but is it better to be pleasantly surprised that it was better than you hoped, or disappointed that you got caught up in the maybes and might-haves? I think the answer to that is pretty clear. Since we're treading down a similar path to the Molyneux video that I did, I want to take the question this time in a different direction. What instances can you think of where the hype was entirely justified in video games? Let me know in the comments, and please do include any topics that you'd like to hear me discuss. Feature Creep is a regular show every Friday, so if you got all the way to the end, you should probably subscribe so that I can banter your ears off next week as well. That's all I have to say. Tarmack out.